Question 1, cool 1. Press pause, write parts A and B down on question 1 here, and press play when you have finished. So, finding 15% of £520. So the first thing we're going to do is find a 10% rule. This is all non-calculator. So 10% would simply be imaginary decimal point over here. Let's take it back 1. It'll be over here. So we have 10% equals £52. Let's put this in a nice rectangle to make sure that this is highlighted. Now we want to find out 5% here, okay? Because 5% is the extra block we need to add this onto. They're like building blocks if you think about it. Okay, so 5% would be half of 10%. We'll divide it by 2. Then we divide this by 2 as well, £26. So let's add them both together. We add them both over here. So 10% plus 5% is 15%. Therefore, 52 plus 26. If you do that over here, we're going to get 2 plus 6 is 8. 5 plus 2 is 7. £78. That would be your answer for this. Okay, so again, look through that. That's quite easy, actually, if you look through it. Part B, Massimo achieves 78% in a test. Sarah scores 27 out of 36 in a test. What is the difference between Massimo and Sarah's result? Okay, so again, non-calculator. Let's see if you work with this idea of two whole numbers and try to find a percentage from this. So we're comparing two different students. Massimo, he's pretty much done. 78%, he scored really well. Sarah, 27 out of 36. So 27 out of 36. Let's do it like this. It's always the smallest over, well, the total, the biggest. 27 over 36. What's the highest common factor that goes into both? Well, I mean, 9 goes into this and 9 goes into this as well. Let's divide each by 9. So how many 9s are in 27? It'll be 3. And how many 9s are 36? 4. 3/4 is 75%. So Sarah scores 75% and Massimo 78, obviously. So which is better? Or, well, Massimo scored 3% more, but the question is, what is the difference? It's 3%. So the difference is 3%, and that's what they want for the top marks in this. So not bad. These are just introductory kind of questions for this, but again, it serves as a good benchmark for the questions to come over in this topic. Question 2, core 2. Press pause, write parts A and B down, and press play when you have finished. So Amy's travel commute cost her £1,200 in 2020, and for the following year, in 2021, her commute cost her £1,260. What was the percentage increase in her travel cost from 2020 to 21? So this is basically to do with a percentage change, okay? And normally it would say the words percentage increase or percentage decrease, like over here, within the question, okay? And you always deal with two whole numbers as well. So in this case, our two whole numbers are simply going to be this one, 1200 and 1260 as well. Okay, so two whole numbers. Now you need to memorize this formula over here. The formula is for percentage change, difference over initial value. So we'll write this over here. Percentage change equals difference all over initial value and times by 100 as well. Okay, and this is a non-calculator paper as well. So let's put this all in a context, in a nice box. Let's start with this. So what is the difference, first of all, between this? The difference between 1260 and 1200 is simply 60. Okay, so 60 is a difference. If we look at this over here, difference. It's like an equal sign there. Difference over initial value. What do we start with? We started with, in 2020, £1,200. So we have this over this, okay? And we times that by 100 as well. But don't worry too much about the 100. That will come to us at the end. So first of all, let's cancel a few things out over here. Let's cancel the 0 and the 0 over here. We can divide it by 10 on both sides. So this leaves us with 6 over 120, okay? So again, don't worry about the 100. It's 6 over 120. Can we break that down? So let's go even further. Let's divide each by the highest factor. That would be 6 in this case. So again, we'll do divided by 6 divided by 6 as well over here. So 6 and 6. So the final answer would be 1 over, how many 6s are in 120, 20. Okay, now times that 1 and 100. This will give you a 5%. That's something you should know. 1/20th is 5%. So that's how much her commute went up that year. Okay, so look back at that formula. 5%. Right, part B. Sean bought a car for £12,500. The following year, it had decreased to £10,000. So what was the percentage decrease in the value of the car over the year? That's what you want to find out. So let's still apply our context over here. In this case, we're going down, okay? The value has gone down. It shouldn't make a difference whatsoever. So this formula, let's apply over here. So we've got a difference. The difference is £2,500. And that's all over the initial value. We started with, in this case, 12,500. Okay? And that will be times 100 as well. So we're just looking at two whole numbers that give us this idea of using this again, this formula. We're seeing 12,500 and 10,000. And this word as well, percentage decrease opposed to increase. But again, that's what these are the buzzwords. Right, so let's have a look and see how we can do this non-calculator. So let's divide each by 100. We're going to divide this by 100 to cancel the zeros. So we get rid of the zeros over here. Those two go and those two go. So we end up with 25 over 125. Okay, so we have 25 over 125. Let's go even further and break it down. Let's divide each one by the highest factor again, which is 25 and 25 over here. 25, 25. So how many 25s are in 25? That will give us just simply a 1. And how many 25s are in 125? That will give us 5. We times that by 100, and 1/5 you should know 20%. So the car has gone down in value by 20%. That's called depreciation, by the way. It's quite a steep figure. Never buy a first-hand car. Okay, so yeah, that's what you should do over here. Look through those two examples of percentage increase and decrease using your percentage change formula, and know what to look out for when you see this question, i.e. two whole numbers. And it's quite straightforward if you understand this formula over here. Question 3 challenge. Press pause, write parts A, B, and C down on this challenge question on percentages, and press play when you have finished. So part A, Leon has £4,000 in a savings account. So this directly assumes it's a bank. Okay, the interest rate is 2.8% per year. How much does Leon have after 1 year in the savings account? So basically we're dealing with an increasing multiplying factor over here, okay, which is assumed increasing because it's a savings account. It may not be nowadays, but look, it's the best we have, I guess, in this situation over here. So let's see what we have. So the basic setup is this: 4,000, okay, £4,000. That's your initial value always, how much you initially put into the bank, times by a multiplying factor. Just two things, all right? Initial value times multiplying factor. Now the way we create the multiplying factor, let's say MF for multiplying factor, it's going to be this: 1 plus x over 100. That sounds really complex, but x is just basically your percentage. So if you do the percentage divided by 100, in effect, we're changing this to a decimal. And that is 0.028. So 1 plus 0.028 is actually just going to be 1.028. Okay, this is your multiplying factor over here, 1.028. If you do then 4,000 times 1.028, you're going to get an answer of £4,112. Okay, so this is a clear example of an increasing multiplying factor, and we can just highlight that as a multiplying factor over here, 1.028, 1.028 as well, and that's how we get that. Okay, quite simple. Part B, Alice buys a flat for £150,000. Okay, so here it is. It has decreased in value by 4% over the year. What is the flat worth now? So again, this is an example now of decreasing multiplying factor, okay? Because obviously it's going down in value. So same thing. What's our initial value? It's £150,000 times our decreasing multiplying factor. What goes in here? Just like this. Now, let's do MF, stands for multiplying factor once again. We'll do 1 take away x over 100. So in this case, x is 4%. So 4 divided by 100 is a 0.04. That's your decimal version. 1 take away 0.04 will be 0.96. So it's very important you take it away from 1 this time instead of adding it, okay? And this is going to be our multiplying factor, 0.96. So 0.96. If you do this 150,000 times 0.96 on the calculator, you'll get an answer of £144,000. So that's how much a flat is worth after 1 year. So again, it's very crucial you identify a multiplying factor for decreasing, 0.96, 0.96. All right, so we have now had an example of both increasing and decreasing multiplying factors, and that should set you up. Let's just do the last question, part C. So Kobe has run a 12-kilometer race in a marathon. This is only 40% of the whole race. Okay, so we've got basically, let's highlight 12 kilometers and 40%. What is the total distance of the marathon? So 12 kilometers represents 40% of the race. You want to find out the whole entire race. This is not really part of multiplying factors, but it's more of, let's say, think it's a box question. So let's look at the whole of this line like a timeline, okay? And let's see where these numbers fit in. So we will have, let's say, 0 kilometers over here. 40% maybe over here represents 12 kilometers, and this is the finish race, or finish line, should we say. Let's call it X, okay? So X is the X amount of kilometers over here. So this bit over here represents, this bit is 40%, okay? This is 40%, and this whole thing over here is 60%. Let's write that down over here. So this is 40%, and this is 60%. Now, let's just do a common sense approach to this. So if 12 kilometers represents 40%, okay, let's look at this final number here, x. X times 0.4 or 0.40 should give us 12 kilometers, because that's how you find 40% of a specific value. To find out 40% of x, i.e. the final amount, it is 12 kilometers. Let's rearrange this to give us this. X equals 12 over 0.4. On the calculator, this is 30 kilometers. All right, so again, you have to do your homework, and make sure you get this. It's not that difficult. It's a timeline, but I think definitely that timeline does pay off in terms of understanding the whole understanding of this question. Press pause on this question. Let's work out how much Amy, Beth, and Carl get on this amount of £240. And write down what you think they are individually, and press play when you are ready. So this is a typical question of ratios, and in particular the subheading is total ratios, and we'll see why in a second. So Amy, Beth, and Carl share £240 in the ratio 3.4.5. That simply means respectively Amy receives 3 units, Beth 4 units, and Carl 5 units. Now they need to split this all into £240, because the question says how much do they each receive. So that's why it's called total ratio, to do with the wording and structure of the question. Okay, so let's think of it like this. So all these units over here have to represent £240. So step 1, let's do this first of all. Let's add our units together, okay, because we want to see what they add up to, because they actually will represent £240. So 3 plus 4 plus 5. This will give us 12 units. All right, step 2, let's do this. Now, we want to basically find out what, let's say, 1 unit is worth. But before we do that, we want to split this. If 12 units are worth £240, what is 1 unit? That's the way we can, say it. So let's divide this. So again, 240, this is all non-calculated by the way, divided by 12. You can ignore that 0, do 24 divided by 12, which is 2, add the 0 at the end, we get £20. All right, so that's what 1 unit is worth. Now always put this as a rectangle over here, okay? 1 unit is worth £20. It's like the unitary method in a way. We'll highlight that in fact because it's quite important. That's step 2, by the way, defining your unitary method over here. So step 2 was, again, also using the concept of division or divide. Right, step 3, we multiply the whole thing out. So let's multiply each one, meaning person in this case, okay? So we've got Amy, Beth, and Carl. So if 1 unit is worth £20, how much are 3 units worth for, let's say, Amy? It'll be 3 times that. So it'll be 60, okay? And the way we did that was simply 20 times 3. Over here, again, each unit is worth £20. 20 times 4 will be 80. And same concept, 5 units for Carl will be 100. 20 times 5. So those are the 3 steps, the 3 key steps we need to really understand for total ratios. So again, you should write this in a toolkit. Step 1, step 2, step 3, okay? And in particular, understand what those steps are for all of those. Step 1 was to add, step 2 was to divide, step 3 was to multiply each one, okay? Each unit by the respective amount over there, okay? And create your rectangle over here. And it's very important to understand this is £20, because getting that number is crucial in your last step of step 3. Press pause, or let's write this question down on a piece of paper, parts A and B. So grade 4, 3 marker. Press play when you're ready. Now this question, it says ABC is a straight line. The ratio of length AB, let's call this a different color perhaps, let's call it green, AB, to BC is 2 to 5. So AB represents 2 units. Let's say BC represents 5 units. BC, okay, this BC over here is 60 meters. Work out the length of AB. Now this question is a bit different from the first question because this is actually called single ratios, okay? Not total, like call 1, it's single. And the reason why is because you're given one piece of information over here, I in this case BC, with respect to these units. And that BC only represents one bit, i.e. the 5 units. So let's go step by step over here. Step 1, let's identify, obviously this is single ratios for the one piece of information. It's showing you one let's say, description over here of one particular aspect to the question. Step 1, let's divide, okay? And this is what we're going to be doing. So let's first of all visualize this with a straight line, because the question says straight line over here. And we have 7 units altogether from A to C, because 2 plus 5 is 7. A, let's do this over here. Okay, so A to B, and then we can have B to C over here. So this is only dealing with this bit over here, B to C. This is what we want to look at over here, because it's to do with what the question is asking. And these 5 units equal 60 meters. So divide is obviously going to be this, 60 divided by 5. 5 into 60, bus stop method, 1 remainder, 2, it'll be 12. Okay, so dividing it is very important. Step 2, let's create our ratio rectangle over here. So the ratio rectangle for this one would be this. So 1 unit would simply equal 12 meters in this case over here. Remember, it's very important in any aspect of ratio, it could be total or single, to create this ratio rectangle, because once you have that, it's pretty easy to do the rest of the question. Now let's do step 3 over here. So step 3 is to multiply normally, but let's see the context of the question before we go upon this. So work out the length of AB. So AB would be this. So 12 meters is going to be 1 unit over here. Okay, if each one of these is 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, we can imagine it like that if you want to, if that helps you. We could say obviously that these will be 12 as well, hence AB will be 12 times 2. Okay, so in this case we do the third step, we multiply it and do 12 times 2, which is 24 meters. Notice how we had to create steps 1 and 2 to do step 3. Work out the length of AC. Now AC is the total amount of all 7 units, so we're not dealing with two different boxes over here. We're with 7, so it's very simple. 12 times 7 will be 84. So in fact, it's very useful to do these 3 steps, because for single ratios, you can apply this to any aspect of the question. Notice how we've done the 3 steps first, then we applied it to the question afterwards. So let's get down to this question, a very typical question on the ages of 3 different students, let's say, and let's try to find out the age of Amy, Ben, and Carl respectively. So write this down, try to find the ages, use a bit of algebra if you can, and press play when you're ready for the answers. Now Ben is 5 years younger than Amy. Okay, Carl is double Ben's age. Okay, so the sum of the ages is 33 years old. So first of all, let's try to identify this question. Okay, step one is always try to identify the problem. Okay, let's identify, we could say, the context. So this is definitely to do with ages of 3 different pupils. Now, it's always good to represent a pupil with the, let's say, letter X, okay, because X is your base, and that's the kind of scenario you want to think of when you see a question like this, especially with 3 pupils. They always have 3 pupils involving ages, okay. So let's take each one of these in turn. Now, Ben is 5 years younger than Amy. We can't do Ben because that's relative to Amy. Carl is double Ben's age, so we can't do Carl because that's relative to Ben. You don't need to know Ben before, so Amy must be your base. So Amy has to be X. Let's do Ben. Now Ben is 5 years younger than Amy, so obviously he would be X minus 5. See how we're creating expressions, individual expressions for each of these pupils respectively. And Carl is double Ben's age. Now Ben is X minus 5. What we'll do is put a bracket there because we have 2 of these. Remember, we have 2 and X in the number. Put a bracket. He is 2x minus 5. A bit tricky, but that's the first thing. Identify context and represent them each in terms of individual expressions. Step 2, let's create an expression from this, okay? So create an expression. Now these 3 steps don't always hold for this topic, applied algebra, but it's worthwhile going through these now. There may be bits and elements of this in the question. So create an expression, literally it's very simple. It's A plus B plus C, okay? So it's X plus X minus 5 plus 2x minus 10. Look how we expanded this out over here. And each one of these represent the 3 different pupils respectively. So we can put little boxes here, X minus 5, and 2x minus 10. This is Amy, A, B for Ben, and C for Carl. Okay, now the third step is to create an equation. Equation simply is an expression with an equal sign after that. So step 3, let's create an equation. Equation is very, very simple. So let's go one step further, in fact, and let's simplify this. We forgot to do that. Okay, how many x's do we have? We have 1x plus 2x. So the final answer for this would actually be, if you look at this, 4x, and how many, what are the numbers? Minus 5 minus 10 is minus 15. So that's your expression, 4x minus 15. So an equation would say that 4x minus 15, that's the sum of their ages, has to equal this number over here. They both equal each other. So that's your equation, and obviously common sense says to find x now. 4x equals 33 plus 15, because that minus 15 becomes a plus 15, and therefore 4x equals 48, and x would simply be 48 divided by 4, which would be 12. So x would be 12. Once you have that, we can work out the respective ages. Now x was obviously, was x is 12, Amy is 12 years old. Ben would be x minus 5, so hence he would be 7. And Carl would be double Ben's age, 14. How do you check it? All 3 should add up to 33. Let's double check it. 12 plus 7 is 19. 19 plus 14 is 33. It's a winner. Okay, so you can always check it like that. It is not required, but all of these should add up to the original number in the question. Okay, that's a check. We like it. So that's how you do this question over here. It's quite simple in terms of the base, but the base is the key thing to understand in this and to find out what the value of x is, like we have. Press pause, write this question down, press play when you are ready. Press pause, write this question down, press play when you are ready. So again, the key information over here, these 3 key numbers, it's £4,500. That's what we started off with. 5% is how much interest this investment grows per year. And the amount of years we have here is N or X. That's how many years his term is for this investment. We have something else as well in this question. This number here shows how much the investment has grown to at the end of it. Okay, so the total capital accumulated at the end of X amount of years is 5,743 pounds 27 pence. So let's see what we can do. Now this is more of a trial and error question in terms of like trying different numbers to get to that final answer. So let's try n is 4 first of all. Let's see what we get with this. So the basic setup is so critical over here. 4,500 times 1.05 to the power of 4. So if we do this, we're going to get 5469.78. Now, is this higher or lower? 5,469 pounds than this. It's obviously lower. Okay, so we'll put too low over here. Let's try another number over here. N equals 6. So again, it doesn't matter if you put 7 or 8. They're not going to penalize you for that, as long as we try to whittle this down to our final number. So basic setup, 4,500 times 1.05 to the power of 6. Now, here this time we get 6,030 pounds and 43 pence. I'll do these signs as well. So that is a bit too high. So let's try the number right in the middle. Let's try n equals 5 in this case. So 4,500 times 1.05 to the power of 5. And if we do this, we're going to get the exact number over here, and that's what they want, the exact number. So it's more or less trial and error. You got to try to figure out what is the best way to actually get this number, okay? And it's not that difficult really if you understand what to do. Question 9, core 9, gold ratio and P&L. Press pause. Let's create this cash account given these transactions. Press play when you're ready. So Lily started a business on the 1st of September 2021 with a capital of Tanzanian shillings 20,000 in cash. Okay, that's how much she injected into this business. So these are all different transactions you can see down over here. We're going to go through each one of these one by one and put them into the cash account. Remember, cash is only dealing with cash, not credits or things like that. So let's first of all create an account over here. As such, I'm going to put a line over here and draw this like this. Okay, so everything on the left, that's coming in. Income coming in, this is going out, expenses. Let's go through each one in turn and see what we can do with this. So first of all, 20,000. Before we do this, in fact, let's create a separate subheadings or subcolumns, should we say, on this one. So we're going to call this date. We'll call this a detail. We'll call this maybe a day. And we'll call this Tanzanian shillings over here. Same thing with this over here. Date, detail, day, Tanzanian shillings. Okay, I want to just create these headings over here, put them a bit lighter color in fact. So, but these are different sub-columns, which are going to be useful to show how we're going to deal with each one over here. Okay, I'll just do different lines to show each one of these transactions as we go along with this. Okay, hopefully we have enough over here. Put one more here, get some more space, let's say. Okay, good. Let's have a quick look at this. So, first one over here, we're going to look at. We're going to look at the first one. Okay, so how do we enter this one over here of 20,000 Tanzanian shillings? So this is going to be an income. Okay, it's the 1st of September, up to the 1st of 9th. I'll call this one over here capital. Okay. Is how much money has been put into the business. It's a long-term amount, obviously, but the date 01 over here and Tanzanian shillings 20,000 as such. Okay, so that's how much has been deposited into the account. Okay, and that would be fundamentally to start the business. Okay, it's a we call it. It could be either equity or debt related, but that's something else. Okay, but that's how much has been injected into the business in cash. Next one over here. So bought a computer. Computer is a long-term asset, fixed asset, not on the balance sheet, but it doesn't matter about that. Let's just do the date, 2nd of the 9th. We'll call this one, we'll call it capital X, or you can call it comp if you want to, or capital expenditure. It's up to you. Date 02, and this would be 10,000 over here. Next one over here we're going to deal with is sold goods for 4,000. So that's a sale. So it's the 4th of the 9th. It's a sale, and it's 04 and 4,000. Next one over here, purchase goods on credit. And this word credit means you've bought on credit, means you owe someone money. Okay, so you haven't paid for the goods, you're going to pay for them maybe within 30 days. We don't know, okay? Trade creditor. So this would not be a purchase, okay? Because you haven't paid for anything yet. You'll pay for it in a month's time. So we don't look at this one over here. It's called a trade creditor in the balance sheet. Paid wages. So paid wages, you're definitely paying for the wages over here. So this will be the 8th of the 9th. We'll call this wages. This is 08. And how much did you pay for wages? 6,000 Tanzanian shillings. Next one, debtors paid. So this means that debtors have paid you for a previous sale. They've now paid you after their 30-day credit. So this would be a sale over here. So this would be the 9th of the 9th here. We'll put debtors 09, and they've paid you 2,500 over here. Purchase goods. So purchase goods means you've purchased goods over here. This would be the 10th of the 9th. Purchases are the same as cost of sales in this exam. In reality, they're not really, but we can call it that in this case over here. Next one. So paid rent. Definitely this is a revenue expense on the P&L. So this would be 11th of the 9th. I'm going to call this one rent 11, and you've paid 5,000 over there. Sold goods on credit. So there again, you've sold goods on credit. Be a trade debtor, someone who wants to pay you this time in 30 days time. So this won't be actually them. It'll be a trade debtor on the balance sheet. This is not exchanging cash. Maybe 30 days time someone will pay you this amount. Paid interest. So paid interest means you've paid interest on maybe a loan or something like that. So this will be the 20th of the 9th. It could be a credit card, short-term loan. It could be a long-term loan as a high purchase. But we'll call this one interest over here. Okay, and this one will be 20, and this would be a 500 over here. Next one over here, sold goods. Sold goods for it's a sale, direct sale over here. So this would be a sale, and this would be again 21, and this would be 3,000 Tanzanian shillings over here. Interest received. Interest received again. This is money you received. So hold it over here. It's a bit squashed up now. 22, and off the 9th, interest received on maybe an asset. Okay, and this is 22, and you received 300 Tanzanian shillings on this one over here. Paid relevant expenses, revenue expense, 29th over here. This would be basically travel over here. This would be 29 over here, and this would be 1,000. Okay, so those are all our expenses and incomes over here. Okay, now let's add up all the incomes on the left hand side. Okay, if you add up all of them, 20,000 plus 4,000, 2.5 plus 3 plus 3, we'll get 29,300. Okay, those are all your, sorry, this is your income. If you add up all the income on the left hand side, you're going to get that. That's how much you've received all together in cash. Do the same for the right hand side, and we're going to get a number of this 29,500 shillings. That's how much you've spent, okay, in this time period over here in 1 month of September. So the difference basically is going to be 200, because we've got to add 200 to this over here. So on the 30th, I could say there's the 30th of the 9th, balance brought down. I would say an extra 200 we need for this, okay, to balance them together, to balance the books. That means you've spent more than you've taken in. Okay, you've spent £200, 200 Tanzanian shillings, should we say, more. All right, so this total, if you add them together, 29,500, and this is 29,500 as well. We like that, okay? We always have to balance the books, which basically means that what are we saying over here? I mean, you can get a mark for writing all of this down with these sub columns, obviously, but more importantly, you can say on the 1st of the 10th of 21, you can say that you have a balance brought down of 200 Tanzanian shillings. Okay, so this is the key thing. So if you were to do this, let's say in the next set of accounts or ledger, you still bring this balance down, that you have actually spent 200 Tanzanian shillings more than you have taken in from this business period in September. Question 10, core 10 gold. Let's press pause. Let's write this question. And in this case, let's go backwards. We're going to create a trading profit and loss account from this trial balance over here. Okay. So make sure you get this right and press play when you're ready. So this is a trial balance, and the trial balance will always have these two columns over here, debits and credits. Okay, so this was all the expenses on the left, and these are all the, let's say, income on the right hand side over here. Right, so first of all, let's write this ledger on the right hand side. As such. Okay, and this is for the 31st of December 16, Mr. Smith. Okay, so we have these two things over here. So the first thing, let's decide which ones would be on the profit and loss and which ones would not. So cash is a balance sheet item, would not. Capital would not be as well, because that is represents equity on the balance sheet. Anything that's basically going to be on the balance sheet, it's not going to be on here. Balance sheet is going to be some things that are going to be more than 1 year. There could be less than 1 year as well, but you need to know what's going to be on a profit and loss balance sheet. Profit and loss is what we want to do from the question over here. Purchases, we like that. Rent, we like that. Computer, this computer has a life of more than 1 year, so I don't think so. If it was something less than 1 year, maybe I don't know, you bought a mouse, or let's say a webcam, we could do that. Okay, that could be, you could justify that probably on there if it's less. But if it's a major expense as well, we're going to do it like such. Furniture, more than 1 year, we can't do that. Again, if you picked something that's smaller expense, like maybe a I don't know, A4 paper for printing or things like that, it could be on here as well. Sales, we like that. Salary, wages, we like this. P&L. So P&L is the key thing. So let's write this first of all. Purchases. Okay. And in this context, we're going to say purchases and cost. This is called the cost of goods sold. Okay, it's the same thing over here. 1,800 Tanzanian shillings. The sales, by the way, would have been here of 3 million over here. Okay, this is 1.8 million, by the way. Okay, so basically the gross profit, okay, carried down, this would be 1,200. In fact, I'm not going to write the millions now. I'm going to write these figures. It's much easier for us to do. Okay, understand? So I'm just cancel these zeros because it might be too confusing later on. Okay, but we mean obviously million, or adding 3 zeros each one. Okay, so once we've got this, we can say that this would be now 3,000 over here, and this would be 3,000 as well, Tanzanian shillings. Okay, what else is on here too? So we've done already these ones. We've done the purchases, we've done the sales. Let's look at the rent and the wages now. It's 2 more things. Okay, so the rent we're going to put over here for 300. Okay, and we'll put the wages here as 400. Okay, so your net profit, basically, net profit. So 1,200, take away 300, take away 400. So that's going to leave you with 500 over here. So if it's 500, we're going to write, we're going to add these 3 together, and 1,200 we're going to get over here. And this over here as well, the gross profit carried down, this would be 1,200 as well. Okay, so basically this is 1,200 as well on here. Okay, they're both balanced, but the key thing to understand is your gross profit and your net profit. Very important to understand these two things. You've made a profit of £500 from your sales. It's very important to understand as well what key items are from your P&L and what are from your balance sheet. These ones we've highlighted in yellow on the trial balance. These would all be on the P&L. The other ones would be obviously on the balance sheet. We don't use that. So that's the main way of understanding this to create this, what I've done over here.